Welcome to this week's End of Days Update, coming to you from Laconia, New Hampshire. We've had such a great time. Joseph Roberts and his Generation Summits. We started out this first part of the week having such a cool time, such good crowds. If you can, come Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We'll be at Jubilee World Outreach Center. We'll have a great time. We do a lot of meetings. We do 2 meetings in the morning and 2 meetings at night. So we have 4 services a day. So we'll have a great time. Wow, what a time to be looking at the End of Days Update. You know, we're coming to you every week to look at the different things that point to the coming of the Lord, specifically kind of the alignment of nations for the Ezekiel 38 war. Because we talk about it every week. The rapture is signless, but the second coming has tons of signs. So we get into this because it's an acceleration mentality. It's not escape theology. It's as you see the finish line, you run faster. So as we approach all these nations that are in position for the Ezekiel 38 war, it kind of blows my mind. The last few weeks, those nations have taken broad, radical, easy to understand steps toward the Ezekiel 38 war. So I'm sure you're all aware of what's happened this last week. Man, you started happening. Last week we talked about a little bit of it. You had so much violence happening around the Temple Mount and in Jerusalem itself. Now that was incited by several things with the Palestinians. And of course we know in the last couple of days this escalated. I mean, I think as of right now, 700 rockets were fired at Israel from Gaza. Israel is retaliating, hitting some of those rocket sites. The crazy thing is the Palestinians, they fire their missiles and their rockets from civilian homes and schools so that it's hard for Israel to hit those. And of course, the Palestinians just fire rockets inadvertently wherever all over Israel. Don't care about civilians. In fact, there were 6 rockets that went into Jerusalem and 7 rockets that went into Tel Aviv. So this is the biggest escalation probably in about 10 years or so. So it really is getting ready to happen. I love watching the behind the scenes things with the Palestinians. It looked like Mahmoud Abbas really started this last week, but they wanted to blame it on him, but really it's Iran. Completely pulling strings from Beirut is what Iran's doing. So it's basically set up by Iran. So you're going to watch in the next few days, Israel's going to retaliate so strong, because this is what happened the last time. They didn't retaliate strong enough, and it went on and on and on and on. But this is going to come to a head because a lot of people have gotten hurt. Several people have gotten killed. So with that, you have Iran touting this and going after vessels in the Strait of Hormuz. And America had to fire warning shots over some of those ships because Iran is just acting crazy. In the middle of that, you had Russia. Remember, they have 150,000 troops on the border of the Ukraine, 70,000 tanks and missile batteries. Well, they've been working their way down into Syria, taking over some of the older places that the U.S. had. Well, in the midst of that, of course, that happening, the EU and the United States is having a big operation to kind of, they planned it as an exercise, but really it's in conjunction with Russia setting up what they're setting up. But you have Russia in position where they want to be. Then you had Turkey last week, basically started more skirmishes on the northern part of Syria. So Turkey's completely surrounding Israel. They're in Libya, they're in northern Syria, they're in the edge of Iraq, and they're off the coast of Greece. So you got Turkey, you got Iran literally attacking Israel right now. The intriguing part about the Iranian part and the Turkish part is you've got the nations that basically, along with the Palestinians, want Israel completely annihilated. So they're manifesting the destiny that you see. So, gosh, in the middle of all that, though, you had China doing stuff. Remember last week we talked about their new submarine that could fire missiles to any. Basically, they could get through the submarine net on the Pacific area, and they could fire missiles anywhere in the United States. Any city they said they could hit. Well, America came out with a new way to strengthen their submarine net. So then China this week came out with, they said they're going to build bases on the western part of Africa so they could get to the United States through the Atlantic Ocean. So you got verbal going back and forth with China and the U.S. Why? Because China is going to be a major player at the Battle of Armageddon. So you got people in position that get in position just after the rapture, and you got nations getting in position for the Battle of Armageddon. So it's really happening right in front of our eyes. So I don't even have time to talk about the droughts, to talk about the asteroids. There's an asteroid that was coming close this last week. New asteroids are coming. You got earthquakes happening. You got wildfires happening in Arizona. We don't even mention all the other stuff naturally that's happening that's set up for the Lord. So the earth's groaning, waiting for the manifestation of the sons of God and for this curse to be lifted off of it. So as we watch all of this, it tells us the rapture of the church is very soon. So we have a lot of work to do in a short period of time. I'm intrigued that today the Palestinians got in touch with Erdogan from Turkey, letting him know exactly what's going on. So you've got Turkey in the know with everything that's happening, and you have Iran in the know with everything that's happening, because this is a total setup. I believe it'll continue for a little bit, then it'll die down, but it's got to get absolutely horrible for the Antichrist to come on the scene and come up with a wonderful idea for peace for them. So that's a little ways away, but not very far. So it's exciting for us. What should it do for us? We're about to see the King. So you're seeing the setup of the entrance of the King. So we always go every week to the signs. What are they? Number one, Israel made a nation. Number two, Jerusalem won back. After that, you've got the Hebrew language restored. Then you got the Ethiopian Jews brought back. You got the fertility of the land of Israel. You have the revival of the Roman Empire. It's pretty cool to have all of it happening right in a row. Then after that, you got the Temple Mount Institute. So cool how they're in position to start having sacrifices. Actually, they've had some on the edge of the temple this last year and didn't get arrested. Last year, they got arrested. The year before, they got arrested. This last year, they didn't. So you have that, but then you got nature. You got fish in the Dead Sea. You've got 172 different species of predatory birds start showing up. So you got the cleanup crew already in the land. You've got foxes on the Temple Mount, which is radical. You got verse after verse showing us nature getting in position. You got the ritual baths around the Temple Mount filling up with water. The Sea of Galilee filling up with water. You had Rabbi Yitzhak Kaduri prophesy in 2005 that just before the coming of the Lord, Israel will be ruled by two Benjamins. So you have Benjamin Netanyahu and Benjamin Gantz jointly ruling this last year. So amazing the things coming to pass right in front of our eyes. But there's many more. Men will be lovers themselves, will have selfie sticks. So there's tons of signs. There's about 50 exactly of the coming of the Lord. But really, you go from signs to signals. I hear people go, well, you can't tell when the Lord's coming back. Well, that'd be like saying, okay, we're in Laconia, New Hampshire. If you want to drive down to Boston on 993, it's about 90 miles. Well, the signs tell you you're 90 miles away, 80 miles away, 70 miles away. So the signs are there to show you how close you're getting to your destination. But we've gone from signs to signals. You had blood red moons on Passover and Tabernacles a few years ago. That's radical. On Passover and Tabernacles, 4 in a row. When's the last time you had 4 in a row? 1967 when Jerusalem was won back. 1948 when Israel was made a nation. 1492 at the Edict of Expulsion when the Jews were kicked out of Spain. So you've got signs, you've got signals, the King's coming back. And then even radical signal this last year was the Bethlehem Star. First time in 2,000 years. Before that, you had, when Jesus was born, the constellation was Virgo. This last year, the constellation was Leo, because he's the Lion of the tribe of Judah. So all of these things together show us it's blatant, it's exact, it's precise. The King's about to come back. So what do? We help our local church, help our local pastor. We're engaged, all hands on deck. This is it. As you see the finish line, you run faster. Listen, it's amazing how quiet it is, even though the King is just about to come. I don't think we have a lot of time, but we have a lot of harvest to do in a short period of time, so let's go for it. How exciting to all of a sudden see the King of Kings and Lord of Lords, bright morning star, lily of the valley, firstborn from the dead, shepherd and the bishop of our souls, the brightness of the glory of God, Jesus. We're about to see him. Man, come back this next week. We'll see what's happened around Israel. By the time you're even seeing this, there might be probably 900 to 1,000 rockets that have been fired. But we'll come back and see. I even forgot about this till right now. Israel took out a cache of weapons coming into Damascus just a few days ago. So Israel is continually having to defend herself because all the nations around her want to annihilate her. What exciting times. We're about to see the King. Have a great week. We'll see you next Wednesday.
Thanks for joining us today at the End of Days Update. If you'd like to be notified every time there's a new post, just go to the EDU at josephmorris.com and subscribe to receive email alerts. If these posts and updates have been a blessing to you, please consider making a one-time donation to help get the message out, or even becoming a monthly partner with Joseph Morris Ministries. Thanks again for tuning in to the EDU, and we'll see you next week.